Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Just me and Paul on at the moment. Not sure if we're going to get anyone else, but as you can see, I've got the Happy New Year sign up myself.
Happy New Year, folks.
And we're coming again to another year, and we've been streaming now like solidly since like we started the party, which is like 4 years ago, a weekly basis. So we're doing well, and what have we done this year? A lot's been going on this year. The party's building up. Our candidates are building up. Pat's extremely busy in London, so if you can help out, and I have got a couple of mates who are going to be helping Pat out. Mark's going to be popping down, and I'm sure he'll bring someone else with him. But if you want to help us out, there's our admin email, and you can help out around London. And we've got, I think, I'm sure it's 6 to 9 candidates in central London. So that's good for us. I think a couple of them are on the outer edge, but that's really good. So building up, guys, and obviously the political landscape. If you've not watched our streams, we've talked about it week on, week out. The fire is rising in reform. Advance UK are in. There's lots more people getting involved in elections. In Oldham, it's topsy-turvy. We've got Workers' Party candidates, Reform candidates, as well as Labour, Conservative and all that, and the Oldham group. So big change is coming, and it's going to come in May. And we are going to be there to scoop up the rewards. That's what we're going to be. We're going to scoop up them rewards. So I'm just going to say, what do I want to do now in this new year? What do I need to focus on? And one of the things I need to focus on, I think, is my faith. So I've definitely got to push to visit more churches, get more involved in community things around the church and that, and help out where I can. So hopefully, well, next year I'll be offering help to particular groups or anything. I know there's a lot of the churches do things besides church stuff. There's the food bank, meeting place, a brew place, support the homeless and stuff like that. So maybe I can get a bit more involved. So that's my sort of like New Year's resolution. And the other one is to get more knocking done. I've got to be on a knocking spree now. Definitely for the next couple of years to really imprint my name in the area where I'm going. What else is going on? I'm going to be moving eventually into Hollingwood. We're not sure when that's coming, but it's coming up this year. Obviously, we've still got issues around Oldham. We're still protesting hotel. We've got 1,000 leaflets that we'll be printing between a group of us to deliver locally to the area that's affected by this hotel. Of course, they'll have nationalising party things on and that, but it's a community engagement leaflet. So we put up lots of things on the leaflet, like who to contact, councillors' emails, police. There's all the crime numbers come up and stuff like that. And we told people about what we're concerned about. So that's still ongoing, and that's coming up in the new year. Paul, what are you going to be up to?
Well, it's a strange time of year, isn't it, between Christmas and New Year's Eve? We're in the holiday period, and, I work in a big pub in Liverpool, and we've had a really roaring Christmas season, It's been absolutely fantastic. And, it's been great. So it's a time of year when really you sort of put politics to one side for a bit, but of course politics is still going on. The new year it's going to be big changes next year. Everything, of course, leads up to these local elections in May. People say in May, but it's the first week in May. So after the new year, literally after tomorrow, it's literally 4 months off. That will fly. So January and February will just pass through in the darkness as we do. And then we'll be into March and April, and that's campaigning season. Now, there's full elections in Scotland and Wales, and a heck of a lot of local elections across England. apparently January the 11th is the closing date for cancelling elections. Labour and the Tories are keen to cancel as many as they possibly can. But I've got a feeling there'll be a heck of a lot of elections in England either way. And I'm expecting a real bombshell to go off. I mean, you got those fireworks behind you, John. And come the May elections, I'm expecting Labour to absolutely sink like a stone. I think once we get over the holiday season, the contempt that people have for Keir Starmer is beyond belief. People know he's not on our side. He's a traitor. He's not serving his country. He's causing all our problems to get worse and worse. I think immigration is going to be a massive issue next year because there's no stopping it. They're just pouring in. I mean, people talk about the boats coming across the channel, but they're coming in planes and boats and trains, and there's no accommodation now. There's no social housing for anybody. I mean, the British are just expected to pay more and more taxes, and they're being caught in all sorts of traps that Labour have set for them. Again, paying higher taxes, more business rates, more people being caught in the higher bands for income tax. There's more national insurance to pay. They're just putting the taxes up all the time. And this is just to feed the immigration invasion and to finance it. Something that people don't want. We've just had too much of it, way too much. So that's going to be a big issue in the year ahead. And I think Starmer will go after the May elections. It'll be so catastrophic for Labour in May that Starmer will lose all credibility and he will go. And then we're looking ahead then to the implosion of the Labour Party because they'll all be scrambling to succeed him. And who's going to win, John, in the scramble for the leadership of the Labour Party? I'll tell you who's going to win. Ed Miliband, who's a bloody idiot. But he's the guy they're going to pick because the rest of them are even worse. And Ed Miliband, there'll be no pickup in Labour support. Now, people think with Kemi Badenoch that somehow the Tories are getting their act together a bit and having a bit of a revival. But if you look at the results in local elections, they're just as bad as Labour. I mean, they're sinking through the floor. And Scotland's going to be the big point of truth for these parties because Labour and the Conservatives are going to die a death in Scotland and Reform are going to really surge. They'll be neck and neck with the SNP in Scotland, which is an amazing political revolution because Scotland has been left wing but even Scotland now is sick of the immigration. I don't know if you've seen what's happening in Inverness. They're going to clear out the army base there and put immigrants in. And the people in Inverness are saying, what the heck? I mean, you know Inverness, don't you, through Arlene? Yeah. It's a remote part of Britain and they're just going to swamp it with Middle Easterners and Bangladeshis and whatever. It's insane. I mean, they're just riding roughshod over local people's opinions. I don't know if you see what's going on in Essex, but they're still ongoing. These pink ladies are still at that Bell Hotel and they're being attacked by the police. But there's like a fire in people's belly. They're not prepared to put up with this. What's going on? Every day we see another rape, another attack. We saw an attack today by an Afghani on Merseyside with an iron bar. He attacked 5 people in the doctor's surgery. I mean, these people are hand grenades and they're just going off all over the country. And people are saying, what is going on? Why are these people even here? And I don't know if you've followed what's happened in America over the past week, John, in a place called Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
The Somalis are being exposed. An all-time racket. $9,000 million at least of fraud. And they shipped $1 billion in cash out to Somalia. $1 billion. That's $1,000 million was shipped out in cash to Somalia. And they were paying off the Democrat Party and the Democrat governors to make this happen. And it's just the corruption, the level of corruption, the theft of taxpayers' money. Now, America are exposing it, but it's going on here. The Somali community is doing exactly the same in Liverpool, in Manchester, in places like London and Birmingham, wherever they are, they're doing this. And of course, other communities, the Nigerian aren't much better, I can guarantee you that. There's so much theft going on of taxpayers' money. And yeah, we've got this huge deficit. This is the problem. We cannot finance the deficit now, it's so big. We're paying $100 billion a year. No, sterling, sorry. Back to England, old blighty. 100 billion in pounds of debt has to be paid off each year, and this is another driving up taxation in the country. And I think the middle classes are just going to say we're not taking this anymore. Like the farmers, we're not taking it, and I can see an implosion ahead, John. I can see the whole system imploding because once people have lost faith in the system and can't see a way forward, there's going to be a day of reckoning. And this Labour government, yeah, it's got a big majority, but it's got no weight and no sort of real authority. It's got no real power because no one puts any faith in them. No one trusts them. And although the media are sort of acquiesce in their rule, I tell you what, it's been a lively year on X, John, in 2025, and it's going to get livelier in 2026. They can't control the narrative anymore. That's the big thing. They cannot control the narrative. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, well, the Minnesota thing, it's been all over the news, absolutely, like exposed it. But, we're being done over here like that. All I can think of is that our leaders are politically correct and they just want to give everyone who's black money. And, they don't question them or anything, but they'll question the white guy, but they don't question all the immigrants and stuff like that. And, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. We're just giving ourselves away and we're just giving all. You might as well work, get your money, and just go and give it to the nearest homeless Eastern European on streets, because that's what's happening, guys. We haven't got anything for ourselves. We're being absolutely taxed to death. And I've been looking at some stuff about rich people leaving the UK, and even Labour, the next time they get a chance, are going to bring in a tax for when you do leave the UK. You're going to get taxed. It's just mad. I don't know how we're going to survive, tell you the truth. There is no peace without war. There is no calm without turbulence first. These things always happen. Don't think that when the May election comes and if everything goes all right, let's say Nigel Farage got in, don't think things are going to be simple. They're not. They're going to be even worse. And it's going to be such a struggle. But that's part of being who we are. We've got to fight that struggle to gain the peace in the end. We've got to fight that struggle to win the war in the end. We've got to fight that struggle to get our country straight in the end.
I think, John, people have got to have faith, you see. They've got to have faith that the people in charge actually can see the problems and are addressing them. This is the problem with this Labour government. They're pouring oil on the fire. They're making it worse. They can see what the problem is. I mean, if you have no borders, you have open door immigration, and you're bringing in people from the Indian subcontinent, the Middle East, sub-Saharan Africa. These people are low skilled. They've got very little to contribute, and they just take, basically. And they don't just take as a one-off. They plug into the system and they're just draining it constantly. They're just taking everything out of the system. They're bleeding it dry. And, karma is just Starmer. Starmer is about to face some karma, I think. But Starmer's just allowing it to be drained away. He's not doing anything about it. It's like being consumed by a parasite and you just don't fight it off. You don't try and resist it. You just encourage it to. I mean, he's just brought this Egyptian in who's put all sorts of posts up saying he wants white people to be killed and all this sort of stuff. He's an absolute psychopath. And yet Starmer fought tooth and nail to get this guy out of an Egyptian prison. He's an Egyptian, and bring him over to Britain. And it's celebrated it. And this guy is he's a psychopath, really. And these are a lot of the people are bringing in. are really antagonistic to us. And this is because everyone recognises now, and it's what's really perplexing people, is that Keir Starmer hates the British people. I mean, some people say he's Jewish. His wife's certainly Jewish. He's raising his kids in the Jewish faith. He's very pro-Israel. He backed Israel in the Gaza conflict. And then when he saw that it was losing Labour support amongst the Muslims, he tried to camouflage that. But he is a real Zionist operative, is our Keir Starmer. And his heart isn't, he's not Britain first. He might be Israeli first. He might be, but he's sort of globalist first. He's the sort of guy that you see taking direct orders from the World Economic Forum and putting them into practice and riding roughshod over the opinions and interests of the British people. Now, he did it with the farmers. The farmers have had a year of trauma. They've had a year of 60,000 farms have been sold, so they don't have to pay this debt duties. But then the farmers just put the foot down on the militancy. They started driving the tractors into London, shutting London down, and said, basically, we're not accepting this. They're just going to impose a 20% debt duty on farmers and basically destroy their farms. That's what it would have done. And the farmers just said, no, we're not accepting it. And they rose in rebellion. And he's had to crumble there, Starmer. But how many U-turns has he made this year, John?
Loads, mate. Honestly, loads. He's broken a load of pledges. But, I want to go back to what you said about October the 7th and the Israel. He didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden, Palestine, you can have a state and all. You know what I mean? Who wants a politician leading the country who doesn't know what a woman is properly and hasn't done for a good couple of years and just does U-turns like that? I wouldn't trust him as a white mixed race person. I wouldn't trust him if I were white, and I certainly wouldn't trust him if I was a Muslim in Britain. I wouldn't. But there's still, a lot of them are still going to vote Labour. They're still going to go a bit that way. But, it's just scary. And, we want politicians who are going to be honest and who are going to stick to the word. And he is not a politician who sticks to the word. None of them are who were in Parliament at the time. He just couldn't make it
Well,
up.
he had, John. He had, remember he was going to reform the PIPs, was it? The PIP scheme, which is being abused to the hilt. Apparently there's 2 million people overseas getting PIPs. Living overseas and getting PIPs off the UK taxpayer, which is a huge amount of money each month. I think they get £250 a week or something. It's crazy the amount of money they get. And they were going to sort of cut this down and reduce it and make it more difficult to attain. And the Labour MPs rebelled and he just bottled it. And he stopped it. He did a complete U-turn on it. He does U-turn. He's got no real policies. He'll claim he stands for something and then he'll do a complete U-turn, because when he comes under pressure. So he's not a leader. He's got no authority. Rachel Reeves is exactly the same. She's got no authority. And so we're left in this vacuum. But we're seeing what's happening in America. America is changing so quickly now. America has stopped all immigration coming in, illegal immigration. They just stopped it. Just shows you how easily it can be done, John, if the will is there. Obviously, the government keeps making excuses about these boats coming over the channel, but they must welcome them because they could stop them. Now, you've got this ECHR, the European Court of Human Rights. They won't leave that. That's become like a sort of totem pole of the Labour government. But this law stops us effectively governing our own country. Everything you say, you want to do this, you want to do that, it's against the European Court of Human Rights. And within our own country, we've got the Human Rights Act. So you try and do something and you say, that's against the Human Rights Act. And these have become blocks now. Legal blocks to actually doing anything, but maybe an excuse as well for the likes of Starmer, who doesn't want to rectify any problems anyway. But we're looking ahead now to the future. And I think 2026 is going to be a massive year for reform. I think they're really going to do well in the May elections. Hopefully not in Holborn, where Pat is standing. Hopefully, PAC can overcome them with the National Housing Party. And of course, we want to. There are people now to the right of reform, people like Rupert Lowe, people like Advance UK. Rupert Lowe has made a big impact this year. For me, I don't know what your position is, John, but for me, Rupert Lowe has been the politician of the year.
Yeah, I agree though.
I mean, he's been so outspoken in Parliament, and he's led the charge on so many issues, and he's freeing up. You see, this is the wonderful thing that's happening now amidst all this darkness, the light and the gloom, is that people are being freed up to speak the truth because of X, because of reform, because of Rupert Lowe. There's a lot more latitude now. People are saying things. I don't know if you saw the interview last night between Andrew Gold and Steve Laws. Did you see that?
No.
It's had a big impact on the internet because Andrew Gold, who sort of LARPs as a conservative right-wing commentator, he came across as just another Jewish liberal who really welcomes immigration. Steve Laws is an extremist, but he makes the good point that, we're at a crisis in this country and we have to resolve that crisis. We can't go on with this situation. And of course, the big word really last year, John, was remigration. That's become the big word on X. And it's not a political reality, because there's going to be no remigration when Labour's in power. But if Reform get in power, who will they remigrate, John?
Who will they do? I mean, first of all, we've got to look at the illegals, and I think there's an estimated 2 million people living in the UK shouldn't be here for one reason or other. They overextended the visa, they're illegal to come over on the boat. Students who dropped out of college and are still here and stuff like that. We've got to get rid of all them first. That's what we've got to get rid of. And I'd want to see things like, if you're coming into this country or anything, people speak English, Paul. I want to tell you a story. I went to the DWP this morning, and while I was waiting, there was an elderly woman. I think she'd got hearing difficulties, and she had to talk to a guy who spoke broken English. And I've got an issue with this, because when I was looking after my mum, we put her into respite and for a week. And I said to the people, will she be dealt with English-speaking people? And they looked at me funny. And I said, well, why I said that? You obviously don't know nothing about Alzheimer's, because a person with Alzheimer's wants things that are the same all the time around them. So they want the same people so they can understand the words of it. We had some Africans coming round looking after my mum, but after a few days or a couple of weeks, my mum, recognised them when they talked, but not throwing her into a place where people don't even talk properly. And this woman had the same issues at the Dole today, and I just thought I just wouldn't have any of them people in Dole. And one time when I went to Dole, I had to deal with an African woman, and I just said to her, "Excuse me, love, I can't understand what you're saying properly. Is there any chance you can get the manager?" And I was treated like I was a Nazi, Paul, and I couldn't understand the woman. You know what I mean? And I think I'm a very good person to understand anybody. Even if you didn't speak English, I'd still be able to understand you. But I just couldn't understand this African tone woman. And I just said, look, I speak English, me. I don't speak any other language. How am I supposed to understand her when I can't? She speaks broken like English. I just made a point. They ended up throwing me out.
Rupert Lowe raised that, John. Rupert Lowe raised just that issue in Parliament. If you interact now, if you go to the GP or whatever, a lot of them speak in sort of broken, halting English, mumbling, and you can't really communicate with them. And it means that you can't have a real relationship with your doctor or with anybody who's providing a service. It's absolutely ridiculous. But this is another aspect of the Equality Act, which promotes foreigners above the native British. I mean, we've got to rebel in this country. 2026 is our opportunity to really make an impact again. It's going to be in the local elections. And I think we've got to reject the Liberal outcome and look for alternatives. The National Housing Party, where they're standing, but obviously it'll be Reform, who's standing, I think, 4,000 candidates. But another group of people who are coming into this country are those who are claiming benefits. This is the thing about the Somalis in Minnesota and in England. Never mind the fraud schemes they've got, which are based around bogus nurseries and bogus healthcare and so on, making all sorts of claims. Most of them go on benefits when they come here and stay on benefits for life. And it's like, and their children go stay on benefits. So there's millions of immigrants who've come into this country. I mean, the estimate is 80% across Europe, who never come off benefits, who never actually work, who send their children. I mean, one of the prime reasons they come to our country is for free education, but also they come older and they get free healthcare. And of course, they're getting free legal services. Everything's free. Of course, they're not making any contribution, but they are taken out of the system at an incredible rate. They're absolutely destroying our welfare state. And the indigenous people of this country, or even the immigrants, the previous generations of immigrants, are now finding that they, because of the Equality Act, are at the back of the queue for services, for education, for healthcare, for benefits. We who paid into the system for years and are still paying in now, I mean, they just put the pension age back to 67. That's a year's theft of our pension. I mean, I'm 63. I'm still working. I've got to work an extra year, another 4 years, before I can get a state pension. And this is after a lifetime of national insurance contributions. Expecting my pension will begin at 65. You put it back to 66, and then a cavalier sort of sweep. They just moved it back to 67. They send you a letter. You've lost a year of your pension. Now, for people who are struggling with health issues, 65, 66, who find it hard to work constantly, this is like a kick between the legs. It's absolutely disgusting. And so this is how the government is acting. Like in France, when they do this, there's virtually a national revolution to oppose it. I mean, they tried to raise it in France from 62 to 64, and it's been an absolute avalanche of opposition, and it's caused a crisis in the French political system. The French will not let that go. They're saying no.
Left and the right, from the left and the right in France, isn't it?
Now, you're still a young man, John. You've got many years till you get your pension. But it soon catches up with you.
I'm 58, and at the moment, for the next few years, I'm not going to be working. I'm going to be curring. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next good few years. I don't think I'll ever properly work ever again. But right now, I'm in the cur more. But you know, I just want to go back to a couple of things. You mentioned Nigeria, obviously Pakistan, Bangladesh. Now, if you go to any of them countries, they're not going to give you a job because you're white and, you know, in place of their own people. In Nigeria, only Nigerians are allowed on TV advertisements. Get that, people. They don't have Chinese. They don't have Congo people. They don't have Somalians. It's Nigerian on television. If you go to Bangladesh, it's the same there. Well, obviously, in Bangladesh, you can be a crook, get convicted, and be a member of parliament over here. You just couldn't make it up. Saudi Arabia, anywhere like that. Even in Europe, European countries are much more stricter, been giving benefits and stuff like that than we are. You know what I mean? And you go anywhere else in the world, you'll have to learn the language, learn the ways, and respect the custom. When you come to England, you don't have to learn the language, you don't have to respect our ways, and you don't have to respect our customs. So, you know, there's a big difference. And I mean, if I was Prime Minister, Pat would have to be, Pat and you would hold me, you'd have to hold me back, because I would be absolutely guillotining half them members of Parliament, Paula. I would be throwing people out of the country, left, right, and centre. I would be. You'd have to hold me back, you would. And I'd be on a tornado whirlwind And I'm really thinking about now. Lately, I've been thinking about the members of parliament we have. There's members of parliament who don't have British passports. They shouldn't be members of parliament. I think that every member of parliament should be at least 50% ethnically English or British to be a member of parliament. Definitely 50%. We shouldn't have people like Dawn Butler, Diane Abbott, because they're only for a certain kind of people in Britain. That's all they're for. And I'm guessing the average white member of parliament would look after all the constituents, but the average black one just only wants to look after black people or Black Lives Matter. I don't want these people running our country, Paul. And
I'm amazed that you got so much faith in any MPs, John. Put the interest of their constituency first. Everyone I've listened to is a complete balloon, But I wanted to ask you on that, John. How awake do you think the British people really are now to all these issues that, there's so much injustice going on. There's so much abuse of our system going on. As you say, there's people coming in. I mean, we've got MPs who, as you say, haven't even got British passports, who don't seem to be interested in what's going on in this country. They want to talk about Pakistan all the time or Bangladesh. So that's like a lack of representation. So we've got awful politicians in Parliament. I mean, the MPs, the civil service, you talk then about just throwing people out of the country. There's legal barriers to that, you see. This is the problem. Anything that any decent MP wants to do, they're going to be told, oh, that goes against this act or that act, and it's not feasible, and the civil service will put a spike in the wheel and stop it happening. Now, I've really been exercised on this as well. This is another issue. What can actually reform do once they get power? Because they've got to bring in some parliamentary acts and get them through Parliament. That's going to be tough. But just start with that first question, John. How awake do you think the British people are to the abuse that's going on?
I think they're more awake now than they ever have been. An example I can give you is the Victoria Hotel was occupied 4 years ago by migrants, and nobody really did. There was a couple of people said something on social media. Now everyone's saying something on social media. Now the locals have come out and started protesting, but it's took them 4 years. You know what I mean? I was the very first month it got filled up, I was there reporting, but it's took other people 4 years. But when we look across the country, everyone's seeing the hypocrisy. We've seen what happened to Lucy Connolly and half the people in Southport, and people are like, well, that's wrong. You know what I mean? So they are waking up, and I think they're more awake now than they ever have been.
What about the standard of our MPs and what they can actually accomplish given the legal restraints?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things, and it's in our policy, is the Race Relations Act. That has caused a lot of problems. That's caused DEI things where they only hire coppers who are non-white, and then all the other kinds of jobs and stuff like that. The NHS service is full of people who are corrupt. There's Nigerian nurses who've got fake documentation, and stuff like that. That needs to be repealed. That Race Relation Act needs to be thrown out the window. It really does. And then we do need to look at a lot of the acts and statutes that we do have in law. We need to look at them one by one. And I will get somebody. I'll get somebody like maybe, like just for an example, someone like Andrew Bridgen to come in and look through every one of them acts and statutes. A few people can do this and sort it out, because it's ruining our country, Paul. They're absolutely ruining our country. Well,
a lot of these come through, John. I mean, the Race Relations Act goes back to the 1970s, but Tony Blair obviously changed our constitution, changed our structure of government. He brought in the Human Rights Act, and then he brought in the Equality Act, which are just basically attacks on the British people. Now, I think these acts can be overcome. Obviously, the Tories were in power for 14 years and basically did nothing. They just bowed down to them. They just consolidated the Blair revolution. Reform get into power or any sort of patriotic party? This is a big question, John, as well. They've got to have the will. I believe where there's a will, there's a way. If they've really got the will to change, remove these acts. I mean, Pat goes on about the United Nations 1951 refugee resolution a lot, but they don't really use that to justify these asylum seekers coming in. They always use the European Court of Human Rights. So we'd have to definitely leave that. But if you've got the will, there's a way. Now, the problem is they're going to need a working majority in Parliament to achieve that. And they're going to have to get it through the House of Lords and then past the judiciary, through the legal system. It's going to be one heck of a battle to achieve these things. But as I say, if there's a will, there's a way. The other issue is this. Are reform really different from the Lib Lab Con? Will they have that radical edge, that willpower to change the system in the interest of the British people and begin this process of remigration, of getting rid of the illegals? These are the big issues ahead, John.
Yeah, they are. I mean, anybody other than like the Labour Party, the Tories have changed the tune a little bit. Should do that. They should look at the illegals and the ECHR, which has been talked about a lot more, and the 1951. We can push all these to the front to be talked about, and then we can get working on getting rid of them or what did he call it? Regulating them better or something like that. We could do that. But, you know, we already had, in effect, laws in Britain to protect everyone through their identity, race and everything. We already had them things in place, but they had to make it worse and they had to make it anti-white by bringing in the European Court of Human Rights and 1951 Refugee Convention and then the DEI, and they've extended the Race Relations Act, started off as 2 pages. It's 50 pages now. You know what I mean? We just need to look at all that rubbish, but it's all anti-Britain stuff and anti-white. It certainly is. And I'm not going to mollycoddle anything. I'm not going to turn over. If you've watched me for the past few years, you've seen how I've learned and changed my tune. I used to say everything was anti-Western. That's what I used to say. But now I'm just saying it's like anti-white and anti-British and anti-Western. But no, we've got to do stuff. We've got to look at these acts and statutes and all that. You're right, Paul. And nobody has got the balls to even hardly talk about it. We did. We talked about the 1951 Refugee Convention. Pat did. And now it is talked about in other in the political arena. These things are talked about. So
it's constantly mentioned, John, now. Constantly mentioned. Now, the issue is, will people actually do something about it? Now, we've heard Nigel Farage. He's been talking about we'll only accept genuine refugees. We don't want any more refugees. The whole thing has been brought into disrepute. We've got to end all this nonsense. We've got to stop sending a signal around the globe. Get to Britain because it's freebie land. Get to Britain because you know they're a soft touch. If there's a crisis in the world, we're not the big hitters in the world anymore. We're a small nation on the edge of Europe. Population, is surging due to migration. But, I mean, India's got 1,400 million people. They'll soon have 1,500 million. I mean, these are massive countries. We're not responsible for the world anymore. The idea that we're in an open house, we've got no border and anyone can just walk in here and claim asylum. It's just madness on stilts. And of course, the problem is, though, how much longer is this Labour Party, this Labour government going to last? I mean, if there's one big regret the British people are going to have, it's putting this Labour government in power with a big majority, because they're going to be difficult to remove. But I can see an implosion coming on, John. I can see this government fall to pieces. After the May elections, Starmer is going to go because Labour are going to get so annihilated in these May elections. People don't realise what's ahead. I don't know if you followed the local council by-elections week by week, John, but Labour's support dropped from 25% to 20% to 15%. Week in, week out, it was dropping to 10%, to 5%. They just had an election, by-election, last week in Cornwall. Did you see that, John? Labour got under 1%. They got 0.7%. Out of all the people who voted in this constituency in Cornwall, 9 people voted Labour. And my estimate was 8 of them were transsexuals. God knows who the other one was. So they got 9 votes. I mean, and in Blackpool, right? Listen to this, John. This is incredible. In Blackpool, 2 weeks ago, in a local council by-election, Labour were in power in the seat. They were defending a seat in Blackpool, and they had 45% of the vote, and they made a big effort, Labour. They got all their party workers out. They got their local councillors out. They got the local MP out. They went knocking on people's doors. They put out 3 leaflets, John, in that constituency. And you know what happened? Their vote fell from 45% to 22%. It halved. And Reform, who hardly campaigned at all, got 50% and won the seat. This is how despised Labour are. They just can't. They couldn't win they couldn't win a coconut at the fair anymore. They're finished. They're absolutely useless. And this is going to become evident in May. Doesn't matter what Labour do now. Even in Blackpool, they tried to mobilise their postal vote. People didn't return their postal votes. Nobody wants to vote for them. And I think it's going to be catastrophic for Labour in May. I think they're going to lose thousands of seats in England. They're going to be reduced to a rump in Scotland. And don't forget, they've ruled Wales since Wales got devolution. But this time, they're going to become maybe 3rd or maybe even 4th place in Wales. I mean, there's a catastrophe ahead for the Labour Party, John.
Definitely. And I mean, the Tories are only just hanging on by the skin of the thread of the skin. They're only hanging on. Green
skin
Party,
of the teeth.
Green Party, just the wasters. Just got some guy in who's shouting tax the rich, and that's it, you know. And a guy called, and even though he's called Zach Polanski, remember he's changed his name from David Paulden, which is a really shady thing to do, I think, you know, because everyone says that about other people. So we'll say it about him, the breast whisperer. You know, the people who are gonna vote for Green are the LGBT loonies. That's all it is. It won't. I don't think you'll get many Muslims voting for him. I really don't, because they're not.
They have got a Muslim section though.
Mohin Ali, the hero.
They're really pro-Palestine, aren't they? They're fanatically pro-Palestine.
The hero of her hills. But as soon as this LGBT gender thing comes in, that's not going to win them anything. The only thing I can think about is a Green Party will end up being took over by like Muslims. They'll kick all the LGBT lot out, and then they'll have a party with a standing frame already. That's what I'm thinking. What do we think about Sadiq Khan? What's he going to be like? When's this?
Well, I mean, he's entrenched, isn't he? He's still got another 2 years to go as mayor of London. He said he's going to retire after that and move on. I mean, at one point he was touted to be the next Labour leader, but that seems to have gone by. So they're talking about Andy Burnham, aren't they? Your man in Manchester, trying to win a by-election. But the problem is there's no guaranteed win for Labour now. So if he stands in a by-election and gets beat, he'll cease to be mayor and won't get back into the Labour Party. So he's in a difficult conundrum there. But you're just talking about Zach Polanski changing name there, John.
Yeah.
Think of another guy who changed his name, Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Yeah. What a year it's been for him with his Israeli tours, and he's got a big rally in March. How do you think that will go?
It'll be big. It'll be big, but you know they'll say all the usual things. But I mean, I think a lot of people who go down are just not committed enough. To tell you the truth, they're not, because what we should be doing is working within our communities and our towns and building up from there. I don't like the big demos now. I really don't. I've gone off them because we was going down all the time for 3 years. So we're spending all that money to get there when we could spend that money in the area where we live and get leaflets and do better in the area where we live. So I've just gone off them, and I felt that, like, no, John, you must come on that demo. Why? No, you can't give me a good reason why. You know what I mean? And I wanted to run in elections, and I said to the lads, James Goddard, when I said to other ones, said, I'm not going no more. I'm sick of it. We should use that money up here where we live, and better do things up here than going to London all the time. Because it's like, that's going to London all the time. The money's just going into like one coffer, you know, and it's not working with the communities. I've never heard him say anything about, like, get involved in your local communities and stuff like that. I've never heard anything like that off that side, and that's not me.
Well, you've got a rally in Manchester in February, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, you mean prioritise Britain?
I think it's Britain first, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I think Hugh Anthony, who we had on the other week, he's organised something in Manchester. But, you know, we want to focus and we want to get people politically and electorally engaged. And people like Tommy don't say that enough. They don't say it enough. It's not. Street movements will only go to so far. Then after that, you've got to think about what you're going to do in your community and working within local politics. I'm renowned, me in Oldham now, across the entire borough. I can't go anywhere without someone pointing me out or coming over and saying something to me. And I want to keep it like that. I want the council to know that I'm going to be a thorn in their side. They can't control me. They can't tell me what to say or tell me what to do. And I'm going to be there. And I'll be still reporting on the same things. When I become a councillor, don't mean I won't be doing a stream on a Ruth Shah when she does something anti-white. When I'm a councillor, don't mean I won't not say anything about relationship and sex education in schools or this trans thing. All that I'll still say, but other people don't. But, you know, it's going to be good. But Angela Rayner, a friend of mine the other day said Angela Rayner's going to make a bit of a comeback, even though she's gone silent. And he's thinking that she might end up being the next Labour leader. That's what he said.
But I don't think she's got the calibre to be a prime minister, John. I think that's a step way too far for her. Although, of course, she was the deputy prime minister. But getting back to Stephen Yaxley Lennon, Tommy Robinson as he's commonly known, well, he joined the Advance UK party, didn't he, the Ben Habib group? Now, they've said they will not stand in local elections. They're only standing in the general election. But, of course, Rupert Lowe, who's got the Restore UK movement, he's formed the Great Yarmouth Fairs Party.
Yeah.
And he said he's going to stand in local elections. That would be interesting. Now, we've got a group called the Belmont Accord, which is an alliance of 7 smaller parties active in Scotland, Wales, across England. Of course, the National Housing Party is a pivotal part of that movement now. And I wondered if Rupert Lowe will join us, because we do need these local voices. You can't, I mean, this is the thing with the Advance UK. They think they can just stand in a general election. No one's going to vote for them unless they've seen them locally. I mean, this is what has given Reform a real drive, is that they're really organising locally.
Well,
how do you see that going, John?
Angela,
I'll be back in a second, John.
No worries. So Rupert Lowe, Yarmouth, Great Yarmouth First. I'll tell you what's going to happen. He's going to take every seat, every local seat, and he's going to get, if there's 3 members of parliament or 2 members of parliament, he's going to get all them if he just focuses on Great Yarmouth, which is the same as we are just focusing on local elections and not MP elections. He's definitely going to take it out. I mean, we went down to Crewe and to talk about the Belmont Accords, and Crewe First under Brian Sylvester, they're going to do well. They're going to get lots of local council seats. This is how we do it, guys. And there's plenty of independent now councils in the country. You won't see them on telly. they don't show you figures for but there's independent councils now, and they're doing things a lot different, and they're not part of the big chain of the Lib Lab Con, so they've got more room to move and more freedom to do things. So it's definitely changing, guys. We've just got to keep on it. And Reform are going to do well, but Reform are a means to an end. That's what I've always said. They're definitely a means to an end. I do like some of the odd Reform councillors a lot, but I think a lot of them are silent. A lot of them are not speaking out as loud as they can because they know they'll get cancelled if they do. I'm just saying that's what we know. We know this already. It's already happened. But we just keep going. And there's a few people, and someone did. A couple of people have approached us and said they voted Reform or they want to vote Reform, but they don't want to now. They want to vote for us because they think Reform are the paid agitators or whatever you want to say. And I sort of like believe in them. But people are waking up now to the politicians, whether you're in Reform, Labour, Tory, or any of them, they're waking up to you. Normal people.
Well, the truth is, John, Reform, they are too restrained. I mean, they're in this politically correct vice, and they're not. They don't seem to be willing to speak their minds, Now, the good thing about Rupert Lowe is once he got out of Reform, he was able to shoot from the hip. And his Christmas message has been seen by millions of people. It's had a massive impact. And the speeches he's making in the House of Commons are also having a big impact. He's prepared to speak on the big issues. I just want to finish, John, the last 10 minutes as we look ahead to 2026. The really big issues, the international issues. The biggest one, I think, is still the Ukraine war. It's got to come to an end this year. Now, I don't think Zelensky's got much left in him. He looked a shadow of himself, didn't he, when he went to Washington recently? He was in Florida, wasn't he, with Trump, Mar-a-Lago. He's lived on the white powder for a couple of years, and it's taken its toll on him. But, that war is such a futile and useless war. And, of course, we've given them billions, and they're still giving them billions, and the Europeans are. And it's collapsing the German economy because the Germans haven't got cheap gas anymore, and they're moving manufacturing into other countries. A lot are going over to America. Volkswagen are going to shut down in Germany and go over to America. So this is going to hit the European economy. Of course, France is in constant political turmoil. I think there's going to be big changes in Europe this year because the European economy is very flat. The European politics, there's no decent politicians. People talk, there's people, Remainiacs, who want us to rejoin the EU. The EU has fallen to pieces. So I think 2026, we're going to see big changes in Europe. We'll see the front, what they call now, the National Rally in France, Marine Le Pen. She'll come to prominence. We've just had an election in Spain. Vox are doing well, and the left are on the run all over Europe now. Because without this money from US aid, they find it difficult to raise funds. But Germany, the AfD, will be winning their regional elections. I think the United States have got the midterms in November. It's going to be boiling up to that. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out about corruption in America, and I see trials ahead. I don't know if you saw that they found those 2 million photos from the Epstein file. The FBI found them, and Robert De Niro's gone very quiet because they got a few photos of him and Bono and other people. All these left-wing sort of media celebrities are all going to be caught carrying out horrendous acts on children. These guys are absolute, the debauched perverts, and they're going to be exposed. And this Epstein files is going to bring a lot of celebrities down in the year ahead, John. I think there's going to be a lot of changes in the whole world in the year ahead, and I think people are moving in our direction. We want to stop the madness, the left-wing madness, which has consumed our societies for far too long. return to traditional values, strengthen our borders. Instead of putting taxes up, we've got to start cutting taxes again and getting back to the Britain that we once knew. So I think 2026, there's going to be a lot of struggles ahead, but I think it's going to be good year for Patriots. John?
Definitely good year for Patriots. Definitely good year for Patriots. We're going to do well, and it's thanks to everyone. I'm going to thank the Workers' Party. I'm going to thank Reform. I'm going to thank Labour. I'm going to thank Tories, because in their own ways, they're digging their own graves. So I'm thankful for that. And in their own ways, that they're helping shake up the status quo in politics. The Werneth candidate for the Workers' Party, he stood in public next to George Galloway. This is what he said, Paul. He said, "We need to take Pakistani politics out of Oldham Council." That's what he said. And, you would never have heard anything like that 5 years ago off anybody. Even if they were in the Labour Party, they wouldn't have said that. But we've got somebody standing up saying that. You know what I mean? And I'm buzzing me. I'm going to meet the guy in January. He's got a meeting going on in January, so I'm going to go down and meet him. But I like that. I like people to be honest and not politically correct. And that's what we need in our politics. We need more people speaking out on these tough issues. So, honestly, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the year we've had and all that lot. If you'd like to donate, we've got our donation link there. We need leaflets, guys. We need some leaflets. That's what we do. Money, money, money for leaflets. Hopefully, next couple of months, we can get a good few donations in. I think we're on. Have we got to do a? I think we're doing a monthly meeting, but it would be on Monday that we're doing a monthly meeting, but I'm not sure. I'll talk to Pat about it. I actually want to cancel that and do one on in February, actually, or maybe we can do it the week after. But you know what, guys? God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. And there's another year coming of the NHPUK.
Another year over and a new one just begun. Happy New Year to everybody. Look forward with hope. Overcome the gloom and let the light shine again, the optimism. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.